guys, good morning. How's everyone doing? We are talking about an amazing topic. We have had so many requests for this and I haven't done one in a while. So I thought, what better timing? How to be a travel agent. What are the steps that you need to take to become an effective travel agent, launch your portable, profitable travel business from home? That's what we're talking about today. So let's get started. By the way, if this is your first live stream, my name is Cyndi Williams. I'm known as the travel career coach, or my clients call me the Wanderlust CEO because I teach people how to grow, scale, and supersize their travel businesses all over the world. So I have a really cool job. I've been in the travel industry for over 25 years, and we also have an amazing program called Careers on Vacation that helps people grow their businesses as well. And if you are listening on our podcast, this show also streams out. The show is called Bliss to Abundance. I'm your host. And it streams out on iTunes. I'm going to be doing a very visual presentation today. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interactive. So if you're listening to it, I want to remind you, you can also see the show on Facebook under Cyndi Williams Travel Career Coach. You can also find us on YouTube. And you can find us streaming. We have a TV show on Roku and Amazon as well, all the places, right? So if you're listening to it and you want to see this later, definitely check us out or subscribe to YouTube, and then you'll get our content on a regular basis as well. So today we're going to talk about what are those key steps that you need to take to really get started as a travel industry. I'm getting a little glare in my glasses, so I'm going to take those off for a sec. What are the steps that you need to take? We get this question all the time. People are, I'm overwhelmed. Where do I start? How do I begin? And like, this is what we do, right? So we help people along with that process all the time. So I want to start by saying, we're going to kind of put this into 4 easy steps for you today. And the first one is really make sure the industry is for you. And I'm going to ask you some questions right now that I want you to think about. So, hey, I see a lot of good mornings and hello coming in. Thanks for tuning into the live stream, guys. Make sure that this is really what you want to do. So some questions that you can ask yourself, I always say, are you passionate about travel? That's number one. If you're just looking for another, revenue stream, this is a lot of work just to create another revenue stream. But if you're serious about making this your lifestyle, or you just love travel, you can still do this business as a hobby in a great fashion to bring in extra income and get discounts on travel. There's ways that you can do that too. But are you passionate about travel? That's the number one test I always ask people. If you have a passion for travel, then yes, it's a natural fit. If you're like, I just kind of want it to be another business opportunity, I would say maybe keep moving on, right? Because my number 2 thing is, in deciding if it's for you, is are you willing to do the work and the learning that is required? Because it is hard work and there is a lot of learning that needs to be done. We're going to talk about later easier ways to learn versus harder ways to learn. So we'll get into that in a second. But are you willing to come to the show? Are you willing to come to the plate and do the work that's required? With anything that you venture to do in life, it's going to be some work and it's going to be new learning. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone for certain things. So if your answer is still yes, like I love travel, I'm willing to do what it takes, then keep listening, and we're going to give you some more steps too. The third thing I want you to think about are, what are the resources that you have to start a business or to become a travel agent or advisor right now? And, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm just going to start on a shoestring budget kind of thing. Yes, you can do that. Will it be highly effective? Probably not. So when I say resources, I'm talking about things like understanding, there's some automation, there's some efficiencies, there's marketing, there's a few things, and don't get overwhelmed because they're things you can put in place relatively easy. But if you want this business to be a lifestyle changer for you, I want to manage your expectations. Like if you're trying, like what we do with our consulting is we consult with people on how to get their businesses to 6 figures and beyond, right? You're not going to do that with not putting any money into your business. Let's just be real, because you do have to market. You do have to be willing to learn. You have to put some things in place in order to get that business operational and to get leads coming in and to really set it up in an online marketplace. Now, if you want to run it as a hobby, nothing wrong with that either. You still should do it in the right way, and you still want to think about what resources you have from a hobby perspective, because I don't want you wasting your time as a hobby, right? I still want you to do that upfront, a little bit of initial resources for some different things we'll talk about today, but what are those resources you can earmark to get started? And even if it's a hobby business, isn't it a much more successful hobby if it's running effectively and making you money? Yes. Now, if you're doing it as a life changer, like you want to have a portable, profitable business, you can travel the world and have your business and that whole thing, understand you need to make a big commitment and you need to have some resources to get it to that level where it will support an entire lifestyle. So that's kind of job one. Think about those questions and where you are. Do I have, a little bit of resources to put towards this? Am I willing to spend my time and my resources? And do I have a passion for this industry enough that will carry me through to have a successful business? Okay. So those are the first ones. That's number one. Number two, whether you are doing a hobby business or regular business, I want you to approach it as a business. That is what this is. If you want to be a successful travel agent, travel advisor, number two step is approach it as a business. Okay. What do I mean by that? I had a great conversation with one of the CEOs from one of the biggest hosts in the country a couple weeks ago. And he said, Cyndi, we have no problem signing. We sign up hundreds of people every single month. By the end of the month, over half of them fall off. And I was like, wow, like, why do you think that is? And he said, they just get into it and they don't realize the work that it's going to take, or they're overwhelmed and they realize there's a lot of pieces because it's a business. There's things you have to do. It's actual work. So people think they can just turn on some logins and they're going to be a successful travel agent or a successful agency. It doesn't happen that way. You and I both know that you have to market. You have to follow the steps. You have to set your business up, and some people are willing to do the work and some aren't. So it was a great conversation because I think what happens a lot of times is you guys get really excited. Maybe you're in that aspiring phase right now where you're like, I want Cyndi's life. I want to be traveling all these cool places, and I want to be building my dream house in Austin, doing all these things that you watch. That you have to remember, this is 25 years of experience. This is, knowing how to run online businesses. This is, being an agent since 1994, right? So that's one of those things where, the willingness to kind of jump in and approach it as a business is really important. And I didn't get here by DIYing it. I got here by investing in different ways, always approaching it as a business, making sure that I was working with the right people, learning from the right people. And yeah, you make some mistakes in 25 years that help you do it better the next time, and then the next time. And that's it's that cumulative effect, right, of getting to that place. So you have to ask yourself, am I going to be approaching this as a business, or is it going to be kind of a thing like, I'm going to mention it to family and friends and just, I call it the see how it goes approach, which is a recipe for you might be on that list of people who just kind of give up. But we'll talk about how not to do that in an easy way, and also why you get that feeling of overwhelm, right? So there's two kinds of clients that come to me, right? And look, you don't have to work with me. This is not what this webinar is about. It really is education, helping you make a decision on if the industry is right for you. But when I work with clients, there's two types of clients that primarily work with me. The first group is that group that kind of went out and tried to do it on their own. They went with the DIY approach, right? And they were kind of going through that process of, making the mistakes, learning. They get to that point of frustration. The second client is that newbie that's like, I want that roadmap. I want to do it quick. I want to kind of move on to things in a quick fashion. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit later. But what I'm getting at is understand whichever of those buckets you're going to eventually fall in, you have to invest some time in this business, and you have to invest some resources towards getting better, building your business the right way from the beginning. Now, there are wise ways to spend your time, and there are wise ways to spend your resources, and we're also going to talk about that as well. But what I really want you to get out of point two, approaching it as a business, is don't waste your time unless you are willing to do it the right way, if you want to avoid that kind of, circle of overwhelm. So step three, let's get into step three. Step three, and this is the one that people skip, and it's why it gets them in so much trouble. get training and get support. Okay, so what does that mean? I did a live stream like 2 or 3 years ago now that we just went crazy on YouTube, and so many people are like, yes, I understand this. So we're kind of recreating a version of that today. But it's such a good example because like I talked about the client just a few minutes ago, that one that comes to me that's overwhelmed. This is generally what happens, right? They get into the business and it's like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of stuff. So I wanted to do like a training example today. This is so fun. Do you guys like Friends? Have you seen this, by the way? This is like a limited edition. It's the Friends coffee shop with Legos. So my family got this for me for a gift for my birthday. And my son said, Mommy, as my gift to you, I'm going to put this together for you. And I was like, okay, that's awesome, because this box would probably just sit in my office with this cute picture, because I am definitely not going to follow a 161-page manual to put this whole thing together. But I want to use that, like, this is your travel business, okay? This end product, this beautiful coffee shop, this, you know, all the cute little, and of course at this point it's not together, so I have, look at that, we have Rachel in there with her little coffee. We have, you know, Gunther, the little guy with his little broom sweeping up in the coffee shop. I just have to share these because they're so cute. And you guys know who this is, Joey with his pizza, and look at that look on his face. How you doing, right? And of course, Chandler. And then the other ones you had to get in the other kit. But super fun. So this is what I want at the end though, right? This is your travel business. You want this beautiful picture. You want it all done. And you're like, yes, I am going to build that. You have two choices on how you're going to build this. You can build it with instructions, or you can DIY it. And what I see happen so much is a lot of people will DIY it. So what does that look like when you DIY your travel business? Well, you got this jar of Legos. Actually, I'm going to start with this other one. You got this jar of Legos, which is, how do I even be a travel agent? Let's see if I can get, there we go. How can I even be a travel agent? That is its own build. That is its own thing, right? When I was coming up in the 90s versus how you guys have to learn today, I went through travel school for 3 months to learn how to be a travel agent, learn everything that you could possibly learn about it, how to book travel, how to sell travel, destinations, geography, city codes, all the things, right? How the hub and spoke systems work, how to partner things together, all the stuff you have to learn to be a really good travel agent or advisor. Then you go work for a company, either a mom and pop or a call center, and then you go through another month-long training where they show you how they want it done their way, what CRM they're working with, you know, where to put the information. Then when you go start to take phone calls, you have a supervisor down the aisle. You can go, hey, I have a question, or hey, I'm not sure how to handle this, or how do I talk to the client about this particular thing? They're at your, you know, beck and call as a supervisor. Then when you book your trip, it gets sent back to the quality department and they check it to make sure it's right. And all is well with the world. You guys don't have any of that today. You are trying to learn all of this on your own. And not only that, this is now one pillar of your job if you want to make this business successful. One pillar is learning how to be an agent, right? That's this one. So even if you are great at self-education, great at reading, great at learning, that is one piece of what you have, right? The second thing that you have to know to be successful, or to get to the beautiful picture of your travel agency, is you need to know how to successfully run an online business. This is what makes you the money. You can be the best travel agent in the world, and I have worked with some of the best travel agents in the world. Like, they know their stuff backwards and forwards, have been booking travel for 10, 15, 20 years, and they know their stuff. They can't get people on the phone because they don't know how to market and do some of the automation that's available today and really get their business. I've worked with brick and mortars that can't figure out how to get into the online space, which is where you have to be to get to that portable place. But also, we have no restrictions outside of seller of travel states, which is something, you know, let's table that for now. It's a whole nother webinar. But you have to know, you know, there's no restrictions. You can sell all over the place for travel. So you don't have to just sell to people in your neighborhood anymore. So knowing how to set up your business as an online fashion, that's another build, right? It's a whole bunch of Legos. This is the first two functions. And don't get me started, because we also have, how do I sell travel, right? How do I do that piece? How do I market? This should be a way bigger jar. This should be like one of the big ones. Marketing is so important. If you are not marketing, your business is dying or it's moving backwards. So knowing how to market effectively, that is the lifeblood of your business. That's what drives customers in. And back in the 90s, the agencies did the marketing for you. You didn't have to do it. In today's marketplace, you do. So this is part of your build in your business, right? Then you have best practices, right? A big best practice right now that everyone is struggling with is crisis management. How do I deal with the coronavirus, right? That's stuff that's in best practices. How do you handle when stuff like this pops up? If you're feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, beat down, it might be because one, you might not have been through it before, but also, do you know best practices to how to get through that stuff? And then you have automation. And guys, these are just the main things. So look at all this stuff that I have, right? Let me just pile this all on, right? All the stuff. If I were to just pour all these Legos out and I said, look, build this beautiful business of this picture that's behind me, are you gonna be able to build it without the instructions? Are you gonna be able to build it without of course you wouldn't, right? My son, and what age group is this? This is, usually they have like a recommended age. They don't have it on this one. Maybe because it's a special edition, but normally it'll say like 14, oh no, it does, 16 plus. So I know, being 45 years old, even with the instructions, I wouldn't want to take on this project, right? But if I didn't have the instructions and all I had were these jars of Legos, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to get the end beautiful thing. Or even if it does, it's going to take like 27 years, right? Because you literally would have to look at the picture and try to figure out every Lego. Oh my gosh, no, that would be insane. So what do people do when they're building their business? They follow the guidebook, right? They follow the guidebook, and at the very end, they say, hey, here, or maybe they do it at the beginning. As you can tell, I haven't put Legos together. But this, I counted, it's like 160-ish pages. And they tell you, this is the pieces, this is how you put it together, this is how it all works. And then 164-ish pages later, right, we have all of these pages going. All of those pages later, you should have the beautiful end product, which is your friend's coffee shop, or in your case, you should have your travel business. So I'm really honing in on point two, guys, because so many people jump in and they do it without this. They do it without the train. They do not see the value of training, or they think they can DIY it, or they think they're smarter than the system and I'm smart, I'll figure it out. I'm really smart too, but like I said, I didn't get here without making mistakes. I didn't get here without working with really good consultants. I didn't get here without mentors. I didn't get here without that great start of going through travel school and working for a company that was educating me all the time and supporting me with leadership and supporting me with people who could check my stuff at the beginning of my career. So then when I blossomed off later, I had confidence. In my first year, I sold $1 million in travel. Like, what does it cost you in time if you try to put these Legos together without the guidebook? It would take you years. It's going to be the same thing with your travel business. So unless you're willing to do some training, do some support, get the guidebook, which, by the way, and just a small plug, Careers on Vacation, that's what we do, right? We give you the roadmap, the guidebook, the support, access to our expert team. But whether it's my program or someone else's, do not undervalue the importance of education if you are trying to do this as any business, even a hobby business. But even more importantly, are you willing to, if you're trying to do it as a big 6-figure plus business, you gotta do it the right way. Don't try to skip that step. It will shoot you in the foot every single time. And that's where, when I was briefly mentioning earlier, the two different types of clients that come to us this is what happens. Either they don't listen to point number two and they're like, I'm going to try to figure it out myself. Or we have people say, let me try this hosting thing. For those of you who don't know what hosting is a process where you can work with a third-party company in an I-9 relationship where they basically turn on your passwords, and some of them even have travel supplier training and things like that. But in that relationship, you have to remember there's only so much information, right? And they have thousands of you. They can't give you that hands-on, one-on-one, no one's checking your stuff. You have to sign off on paperwork that says you are running your own business. You are liable for your own business. If you make mistakes, you're liable, right? It's a relationship where you're exchanging. They're going to keep a portion of your commission forever of everything that you sell in exchange for you basically using their credentials, right? That's one way of getting set up. Another way is you go totally independent and you have 100% of your commission. So, but what a lot of people will do is they'll say, well, let me just try out hosting because it's, you know, a couple $100 and let me try that first and see how it goes. So what ends up happening is people get in and then they're like, oh my gosh, oh my God, this is way more than I thought. What's happening? Like, how do I handle all of these pieces? How do I even start? And if you get God forbid, you get a couple of phone calls and then you're trying to book your first trip ever and you're like, how does this work? How does that, right? It just becomes so overwhelming quickly. And then we have people who have been in the industry for a long time and they have had success, but what they do is they get to a plateau. Like, so the people that do the DIY, and I saw a great post a couple of weeks ago, and this person out of love was saying to a new person who was saying, hey, how long is it going to take me to be successful in this business? And they said, you know, at it for 3 years and I just hit this goal. So just know it's going to take you that long. And that was their experience because they kind of built it from the ground up. They had to go through learning curves. They had to go through mistakes, and they were sharing all the stuff that, you know, they had to do. If you don't have that training support at the beginning, yes, it could take you 3, 4, 5 years or longer, right? So what a lot of times happens is people get frustrated, they start the DIY, and even if they have some success, even at that 3-year mark, you plateau. Like, I'm selling a few $100,000 a year, but I want to sell $1 million a year. Like, I'm really trying to change my lifestyle or have my spouse retire or start traveling more or make more income, whatever the thing is, and they can't figure out because they're stuck. So you either get the DIYer that is stuck, is overwhelmed, is frustrated. Sometimes they get into a bad host relationships. There's lots of bad hosts out there. There's lots of good ones too, but they got into the wrong situation because they didn't know the questions to ask. So now they're in this cycle of they made these mistakes, and now they have all this stuff. And guess what I have to do as their consultant? They've half built this thing back here, right? Like, it's a quarter built. I have to come in and smash the whole thing, and we have to start over. So it's going to take them even more time because I'm not, this is, unfortunately, the way that you did this, that's not going to work. So now we have to crash it down and reset it. But the good news is, once we go through these steps, you're going to have this beautiful thing, right? So that's one type of client that comes to me. The other type of client that comes to me, and when I talked earlier about being wise about how you're spending your time and being wise about how you're spending your resources, this group falls here, right? And look, there's no judgment either way. Like, I'm from the Midwest, and we make a joke. My grandmother was Dutch, and we're always like, you haven't heard that before. We're like, we don't spend money, right? So I get it if you started the other way. There's no judgment, and I still support you and love you. It's not any judgment whatsoever. But the other type of client that comes to me is the one that goes, Cyndi, I don't want to waste time, and I value my time. I want the quickest results. I just want to know how to do it the right way from the beginning. And I want someone to tell me step by step, give me a roadmap. How do I put this thing together? Because I love travel, right? All those first steps. I love travel. I'm willing to do some work. I'm willing to invest in myself. Just tell me what I need to do to get it successful. And that group is smart enough to know, or savvy enough to know, that it is the questions that you don't know to ask that will get you in the most trouble. Right? So many times, even with experience or brand new, I'll say, oh, you probably don't know this, but da 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 da. Or here's the checklist, make sure you're following this. And they'll go, oh, I would have never thought of that, right? It's because how could you? You've never been in the industry before, right? So again, no blame, but just think about that where you're sitting. Do you want to be in that group that goes and does a DIY for 3 years and then you still end up at my doorstep going, Cyndi, help me with all the things, right? Or just like cut your losses and start the right way from wherever you are today. So guys, those are really the top steps for kind of, thinking about if you want to get in the industry, how to get in the industry. And just to recap all three really quickly, make sure this business is for you. Do you have that passion? Are you willing to do the work? Number two, are you going to approach it as a business? Are you willing to approach it as a business? Because if you want the abundance that a real business provides, then you have to put in the effort and approach it as a business from day one. And number three, get that training and support wherever you are in your journey. If you are aspiring and wanting to get into the industry and you don't want to try to build it right without such a valuable roadmap, get the training support. If that's Careers on Vacation, awesome. You can apply at careersonvacation.com/ready now, or whatever program that resonates with you to get you where you want to be. But I want to encourage you, don't skip that step. And I'm trying to save, like, I'm a mom and a wife, and I value my time with my family, and I'm also a very impatient entrepreneur. If there is something that will get me to the next revenue level, profit level, I am not afraid to be decisive and make decisions that will make my business bigger and stronger. And also, when I invest in those things, what I do is I wrap it back up and I bring it back to you guys. I know you guys don't have a $30,000 a year training budget like I do to work with the best people all around the world, but you still get that through our programs, because I'm coming back and translating that for the travel industry, testing it, by the way. If you're not familiar with my story, we have our own award-winning, highly profitable travel business, travel agency called Tripsy Travel. So we are, when they say learn from a mentor who knows what is doing what you're already doing and knows already the information of what you need, that kind of puzzle piece to put it together for you, that's what we're doing. We have a multiple six-figure travel business, operational, running, totally separate from what we're doing. So guys, I hope this was helpful for you. And listen, I encourage you, wherever you are in your journey, if you're just getting started, definitely keep at it. I know it can seem overwhelming at the beginning. And if you haven't already, check out our Facebook group. We have a great community over there. And we invite you to apply for Careers on Vacation if that's a fit for you. And no matter what, we wish you so much love, so much abundance. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Meg loves to travel. She's tired of her stressful job and wishes she could have her own travel business. Meg heard travel agents get amazing discounts and work from home or while they travel. This sounds perfect, but Meg has no idea where to start. Meg is worried she will fail because she's never worked in travel, and launching a business is overwhelming. That's when Meg found Careers on Vacation, which taught Meg everything she needed to launch her portable, profitable travel business. Meg got to work with industry expert Cyndi Williams and the Careers on Vacation team to launch her travel business in just weeks. Now Meg is helping families book dream vacations, earning amazing commissions, and traveling the world. Meg is so grateful she found Careers on Vacation.